Badlands, running to Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Daily Herold here on Badlands Media. I am your host, John Herold, and I have a jam-packed show for you guys today. I'm going to have two guests on. That's a first on the show. Very excited. We're going to bring Gabrielle Cuccia on right away after I do our ad read, and then we're going to have CanCon on later to talk about the curling versus Raffensperger and the case being dismissed, and then we'll have a whole bunch of news to get through. So let's do our sponsor real quick, and then we'll bring Gabrielle on. We have River Bitcoin up first for a sponsor. River announces Bitcoin interest on cash. Now, US dollars in your River account will earn a high yield interest rate that can be paid in Bitcoin. With the price of groceries, mortgage, and tuition on a steep rise, people are now looking at a retirement age of 80 instead of 60, and it's all because dollars are losing value at a record pace. The challenge is finding a way to hold on to your dollar while still getting ahead, and that's where River Bitcoin comes in. River Bitcoin's interest on cash protects your dollars with FDIC insurance while offering you the option to reap the potential gains of Bitcoin. Over the past 2 years, you would have earned 2x the rate of most high-yield savings accounts and 16x the rate of the national average savings account with Bitcoin interest on cash. Get started at badlandsmedia.tv/river. Move your cash to River today and start earning a real interest rate paid in Bitcoin. That's badlandsmedia.tv/river. All right, let's not waste any time. Gabrielle, how you doing?
I'm doing good. It looks like I'm sitting in a closet. I swear I'm not. I just have a little hideaway here in our studio. So just like a floating figure right now. Great to be here. Thank you.
That's actually one of our guys on Badlands. He does the same thing. He has like just a black screen behind him all the time, and it always just looks like a floating head because he wears black shirts too.
Yeah, the contrast with the white's really working today, but I'm good. Happy to be here.
Good. Glad to have you back. And I want to talk to you about the China-Taiwan situation because right now we have this story going on, and I have a couple of things pulled up.
Perfect. I love this format. It's the best.
Yeah. We can probably start with this one. This story comes up in the news all the time. I swear, it's like every couple months we have a new like record-breaking number of Chinese planes have entered the Taiwanese, airspace or whatever. And you being at the Pentagon, I'm curious what your thoughts are and what you're hearing over there.
Yeah, so I agree with your sentiments that we kind of hear this every now and again. It's probably about every 6 months or so. We have this heightened fear of, oh my goodness, what's China going to do with Taiwan? This time around, though, I find it to be a lot more pressing. I have talked to defense personnel, and they're anticipating now whatever they haven't said exactly in what sense kinetic would mean, but that there's going to be higher escalation come this summer. So I would definitely keep an eye on what's going on with Taiwan. But this particular exercise that China did, it's pretty wild considering the fact that Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, just finished out his Indo-PACOM tour, which for people that don't know, it's Indo-Pacific. And he went to Guam, Hawaii, Japan, all for the purpose of exercising what we have as far as THAAD. It's a THAAD. It's a military defense system, and some other drone capabilities to be able to defer any exploits that China exercises. So in this particular exercise, it was just very interesting because they were fully allowed for 71 aircraft, which is a heck of a lot, especially because about 2 weeks prior, we reported this, but they had 59 aircraft at one point, and we thought that was a big deal, of which 43 of those actually tapped into Taiwan's air defense identification zone, kind of similar to when you talk about the zones being distributed between like North Korea and South Korea, right?
Yeah.
So that's a huge increase. And then that was 21 warships, and it encapsulated, it's all joint programs, right? So that's Rocket Force, Air Force, Navy, Army. This wasn't just some sort of Navy exercise that China was doing and not making such a big deal out of it. I think this actually is a big deal in testing the waters, especially coming at the time that China removed their Chinese defense minister, brought in a new one last year at the same exact time that Taiwan is actually, their president has changed their citizenship pathway for Chinese migrants specifically. So there's a lot of tension there. On top of, you've seen maybe some reports of the Global Times, which is technically owned by People's Daily newspaper, which is a CCP organization. They were very quick to say, yeah, we don't have a code name for this exercise whatsoever. This is standard practice for us. We're going to be doing these things all the time. So this won't be the last exercise that they do. So a lot of bolstering between China and then, of course, the United States too. And not to get ahead of myself, but we do have a joint base, Diego Garcia, that we utilize with the UK. And it serves as a perfect holder for anything that's happening in the Pacific and then also in the Middle East. And so as of recently, a lot of defense missile systems have been carried on over to that base, more so than we've seen in the last year, especially with the last administration. And those THAAD programs, too, that I just talked about before, were always an idea, and it was actually presented during the Obama administration, and there hasn't been a lot of emphasis on it. So you're seeing, at least on the Pentagon DoD side, a lot more resources and a lot more movement happening in that area, which I think is probably emboldened China to respond back. Again, same exact time that we announced those next gen fighters at the White House with Hexen. You saw China was exercising their very own as well. So it's just a constant like tit for tat going on here. But I do believe there's going to be escalation come summer.
What makes them think that they're going to escalate in the summer? Like how they have inside
they haven't
insight
said
into that
explicitly, and a lot of times too, not to be like, the bearer of boring news, but like the Pentagon is always going to refrain from saying anything explicit before President Trump. They will never say anything before the White House does, and that's just common practice. I will be meeting with some Indo-PACOM officials, and I could probably grab some more information that's pertinent and allowed to be shared. But as of now, that was just kind of the key that I noticed earlier this week and last week as well. So I'm just kind of relaying that. I don't have explicit details on what that's exactly going to look like. But again, when you have, I don't know if you have that clip at all, but the Chinese military making some very interesting videos and having the Taiwanese president depicted as a parasite.
Oh, yeah, I have that too.
Yeah, just getting grilled over an exploding Taiwan on chopsticks. I mean, this stuff is wild. This is like the new age of how we, I guess, exercise what we're doing and what our intents are with social media. Like, this is some bizarre stuff. I also saw another video earlier today where the Chinese military showcased this exercise they did in Taiwan and put it with anime characters. So it's like, it's bizarre. I mean, that's kind of just what it is, but how wild is that? Yeah.
Yeah. It's some weird propaganda.
Yeah.
I mean, is the Pentagon actually fearful that China will at some point go into Taiwan? And do you know what our response is going to be? Because Trump has repeatedly said pretty much since he left office in 2021, that China is going to invade Taiwan. And it never really happened, but he never really stopped saying it. And I'm just kind of waiting for it to happen.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think at the end of the day, that possibility is not going to be off the table, especially for this administration. The exercising that China has done, I'll give you an anecdote. I was talking to a defense contractor last week who actually served in Guam. And I mentioned Guam again because we're talking about Indo-Pacific, and Guam is probably our last frontier outside of Hawaii to respond to any like Chinese aggression in that area, that theater.
Yeah.
And he had said on November 5th, election day for the United States, he was in Guam, and all the sirens in Guam went off, and the sentiment across all the military installations and the people outside of just civilians immediately went into a duck and cover, shelter in place situation, fully expecting China to attack Guam. So I say that because that sentiment of immediately hearing those sirens and believing that that is the outcome of what's about to happen is just a signal to the rest of Indo-Pacific that that's not far off from what we may see in the near future. And like you said, Trump saying that all the time, him having that sentiment, I think trickles down into Pentagon officials and DoD operations as a whole, that we're probably doing more unconventional work down there. Another point being, I say that because this particular contractor was talking about just the open surveillance of Chinese operatives in the Indo-Pacific and how much they're collecting on our DoD personnel and our contractors. So they're going full force. By default, why would we ever sit back and relax and not do the same thing? I'm sure we are, especially in the intelligence community. We go full steam ahead for those types of things. We've done a huge pivot from the Middle East and just went straight into hard targets, whether it's Iran or North Korea or definitely China in this scenario. So I imagine there's personnel there without a official presence operating in those arenas for exactly this reason.
Sure.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. So something we'll keep an eye on. I am curious, last time you were on last week, we talked about the signal stuff. Has there been any update, anything you want to add to what we talked about last week?
Yeah, actually, yeah, I would like to add just one more element, which I totally forgot to mention, is that high-level cabinet members that have a focus on national and international security, they do usually get rolled out a SIPR phone, SIPR, in which that information that can be stored on that phone goes up to the secret level. And so I say that and mention it because I imagine that they all do have those in their hands. And this, might have just been one of those conveniences that they utilize Signal in that state for whatever reason, whether it was, I'm not making excuses, whether it was scheduling or whatever it may be, that this was just the quickest way to get information out to those officials. But again, I said last time, I'm not really sure what phones they're utilizing, but traditionally they should be using their SIPR phones at a minimum. So I just like to put that out there as extra.
So they have a classified line of communication, but they use the Signal instead.
Yeah.
So bizarre.
So, I mean, what are you going to do for that? Again, I don't like to compare apples and oranges or say like what situation's worse or not, but it does give me heartburn as a journalist that there are a lot of flubs and mistakes or bad operational calls that just get whisked away dependent on who's sitting in the Oval Office. So for that, that's just the one extra piece of information that I failed to address. And I wanted to put that out there just so that your viewers knew too, because I know there was some conversation of like, what could they possibly have been using? Is there an official, phone circuit? And there is. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that. One more thing. Yesterday, I think it was yesterday, the day before, Hegseth signed the standards for the military.
Yeah, that's good news, right?
Absolutely love that. And it should be like that for everything. I mean, you should just have the same standard. If you surpass it, then you're in. If you don't, you're out. Doesn't matter the gender or anything else. But any other comment you want to add to that?
Yeah. So the combat standards being neutral amongst all genders is an absolute need. It's a must. I mean, it's just you can say it's fair, it's not fair, but if you hit the barometer, then go for it. There's so many instances through pipeline, say it's Ranger School or whatever it may be, where I've known females who have gone through it at least 4 times and they pass on the 4th try. Not the guys don't get that same grace to recomplete or reattempt any sort of pipeline like that. So
seriously,
it's a good move. Yeah. I forget the individual. I mean, if you search it, there was one specific female that went through a pipeline about 4 times, but in mass media, she was celebrated for completing, I believe it was a Ranger School. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
Probably something for me to jump on next time, but yeah, it's a real thing. I've worked with DoD liaisons and other people in that field during my security contracting. And that was a wide sentiment that there were a lot of frustration surrounding those requirements.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Gabrielle, I appreciate you coming on. Sure. And I think we're going to try to make this like a weekly thing where you come and give us a little update from the Pentagon as long as you're willing. So
I love it. I won't be floating here. You guys can see me in my Liberty Lounge once I get internet service in that Pentagon office.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Appreciate it, Gabrielle. We'll talk to you later.
All right.
All right. And now we'll bring on our next guest. Gabrielle's great. She's got some great insight. And speaking of not passing military standards, we got CanCon. What's up, brother?
How's it going, John?
It's going well. So I wanted to bring you on mainly to show you what a real daily show looks like.
Oh.
So welcome to the Daily Herold. Just kidding. You guys probably went way in depth on what we're about to talk about on the show this morning. But I just want to brief, give me the details on what you broke this morning, and I'll pull the tweet up and read it here quick. After an 8-year-long battle in federal courts spanning the 2 separate voting systems, Diebold and Dominion, federal judge Amy Totenberg has dismissed the Curling versus Raffensperger case for lacking jurisdiction. And just take it away, man. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so this is another standing case here. I just put up another post, and I can read from this very briefly. She says, first, plaintiffs do not claim that the Georgia's use of a QR code prevents the individual plaintiffs from voting, dilutes their votes, or prevents their votes from being counted. So her way of saying, we're not stopping you from being able to vote. We're just, we're not allowing you to know who you actually voted for. It goes on to say, because the voting system tabulates their votes by scanning an indecipherable QR code on their printed ballots, they are unable to verify that the QR code that is tabulated accurately captures the selections that they made on their voting machines. Second, although some voters may find the voting process challenging, it is not by itself an obstacle to a voter casting a ballot, because neither of these alleged injuries implicate established legally protected interest. The court must find that plaintiffs do not have standing.
Explain
So
this to
the
me like I'm
judge-
5. I don't
So
understand.
the judge is saying nobody's stopping you from being able to vote. Nobody's making it more difficult for you to vote. Nobody's, saying that you're not allowed to vote. You just can't know who you voted for. And then she goes on in her final.
Hold on. So her argument here is that even though we can't verify that your vote was counted, you technically do get to vote, and therefore we're throwing it out.
Not that it's counted, but that how it's counted. You know that it's a vote recorded for Donald Trump or for Kamala Harris, whatever the case may be. She's saying that you're not being told you're not allowed to vote. You're not being stopped from voting. You're not being obfuscated from voting. You just can't know how your vote was tabulated because of the use of this QR code. She does go on to say that Georgia is on their way of phasing this out, but that's dependent on funding. And I've been talking back and forth with sources all morning about this, and they're asking for $70 million to implement this QR code bypass, and they don't know if they're going to get the funding for it. If they do, it'll go into effect July of 2026, just before the midterms, or no, just after the midterms, actually.
Didn't Trump in his executive order say that we're moving away from the QR code system? The election integrity executive order?
That's his goal, but the executive order only has the power of the purse.
Yeah.
VVSG 2.0, if that's enforced, the only thing it can do, voluntary voting system guidelines. And so this is an update that we've been waiting for. This is what I was texting you about last week.
Yeah.
Not one single system has passed under the VVSG 2.0.
That's insane.
It really is. And 1.0 predates the iPhone by 2 years, like iPhone 1, like the very first iPhone. And that's what they've been using as a standard to certify our election machines. Not one single machine has been able to pass VVSG 2.0, but all of this isn't law in terms that the machines can't be used. It just means the federal government won't fund you if you're using these. So if they figure out a way to get around that, or, they sue to get the federal funding anyway, saying our elections will fall apart if we don't get it, they'll probably be successful in subverting that.
Was this the case, this Raffensperger case, where what's the guy from? Is it
Haldeman?
Michigan?
Yeah,
Haldeman. We had the Haldeman report. Was this the case where he also went in there and he showed that you could change the votes in machine?
Yep, I was there.
And then the trial was a year ago, and it took her a year to come out with this ruling.
14 months. So we've got 8 years that Coalition for Good Governance, Donna Curling, and Marilyn Marks have been suing. 8 years. Okay. The trial was 14 months ago, a 17-day trial. 14 months ago, the trial, and we're just now getting a ruling where the judge says that you guys don't have standing, and because of that, we lack jurisdiction. It makes no sense. I mean, how many millions of dollars have plaintiffs wasted? How many millions of dollars have taxpayers funded in defending this? The Secretary of State's office defending this. It's crazy. This is probably the most radical ruling I've seen, because it comes at the very end of the process, and they've completely and totally drained private citizens of all their resources on something that should have been established right away. You guys don't have standing to bring this case.
Yeah, that's what my question was going to be. Typically in the legal process, if somebody's not going to have standing, they're going to rule on that very early on. Thinking back to Trump's all those election cases in 2020 surrounding Trump, all those rulings of there's no standing was after the initial suit was filed. I don't think I've ever seen a case go all the way through the trial and everything, and then determined. I'm sure it's happened, but I can't remember a single time it's happened where they rule on the standing after the trial.
And then the last thing, John, that she says in the conclusion of her ruling, she says, quote, ultimately, plaintiffs failed to establish at trial that Georgia's continued use of the BMD system will likely cause them to suffer a legally cognizable injury. So she's saying that because nobody knows that their votes have been flipped, or the votes are not appearing the way in the QR code that they do on the ballot, that there is no injury. First, I'll mention that Garland Favorito's case to examine the physical paper ballots has been pending. The Georgia Supreme Court remanding it back down to the state courts, to the inferior courts, has been waiting for over 750 days to be docketed by a judge, to be assigned a judge. 750 days that it's been waiting since the Supreme Court kicked it back down. And then on top of that, as they're sitting here saying that, you have no legally cognizable injury. Well, how are you supposed to establish that if you don't know how your vote's been tabulated? And we had Phil Davis, Mad Liberals, on for like 7 episodes on why we vote. He showed exact examples of what Halderman is saying could happen, where you read on the ballot that you voted for so-and-so, but then on the cast vote record, which you don't see when you're voting, it says you voted for another candidate. We have evidence of this.
That is insane. Can you read the part of what the judge just said, the thing you just read?
Yeah, here, let me share my screen real quick. Here we go. She says, right here, the orange part at the top.
Can you possibly zoom in too?
Yep, sure. Starting from the beginning, it says, at trial, plaintiffs presented substantial evidence supporting their deeply held concerns about the administration, maintenance, and security of the BMD, the ballot marking device system.
And that's the QR code? That's the QR code system?
The BMD, right. Ballot.
Okay.
So their system prints the ballot. You mark it on a screen. It prints the ballot. And then you can see your choices, but the choices are actually tabulated based on what's in the QR code. So what you see on the ballot doesn't mean anything. It means nothing. She says, yet under Article 3 of the Constitution, quote, legal, moral, ideological, and policy objections do not alone establish a justiciable case or controversy in federal court. Ultimately, plaintiffs failed to establish at trial that Georgia's continued use of the BMD system will likely cause them to suffer a legally cognizable injury. And then it goes on to talk about what I was just saying about the legislature trying to remove the QR code. But again, we don't know if that's going to go through because they don't have the funding for it.
That's insane. So what do you think is going to happen next? Is this going to be challenged?
I would imagine so. I'm working on getting one of the plaintiffs to come on Why We Vote either this Friday or next once they have a legal groundwork. They just found out this morning it's not an April Fool's joke, although it seems more like an April Fool's joke than a judicial ruling. But yeah, so as soon as we know, we'll get them on.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate the update. And make sure you guys tune in every weekday at, is it 9 p.m. Eastern or 9 a.m. Eastern?
10 a.m. 10 a.m.
10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. my time for Badlands Daily, hosted by Brian and a rotating crew. So thanks, man. We'll catch you later.
All right. Take care.
Oop. That is a wild case. I can't believe 8 years in the making and that ruling comes out. Wow. Anyway, we got lots to get through now. Having 2 guests that ate up some time. So we'll just get cracking away here. Let me just get my computer and everything set up the way I need to. Okay. No update to the Doge site, but I figured I'd show you guys anyway. Border crossings are way down. Love seeing this. Donald Trump posted this on True Social. Illegal border crossings for March dropped even farther to just over 7,000 for the month. That's lower still than the 8,300 for February and down 94% from March of 2024 when 137,000 people crossed. It is remarkable, like how easy it actually has been. I mean, I shouldn't say easy, maybe that's not the right word, but when you actually try to enforce your border policies and have a secure border, it's not that difficult to get it done. They're showing that. And then on the flip side of the Biden administration, something we talked about yesterday, that town hall or whatever it was that Elon Musk did, talking about what they're finding and the millions of people, of illegal immigrants that came in for the voting system, all of them issued Social Security stuff. It was clearly intentional. I mean, that alone should be like treason or something. I wonder if there's internal communication we'll end up finding about why they were letting so many illegals into the country. Let me see what else. I have more stories on immigration, but these are going to be a little out of order as usual. So I know I have more stories on illegal immigration, but we'll come back to that later. I thought this was a really interesting story. The Senate is voting to reverse Trump's tariffs on Canada, and they're trying to get Republicans to get on board. And there's even a True Social post from Donald Trump on this. So it's definitely worth addressing. With President Trump's so-called Liberation Day of tariff implementation fast approaching, that's tomorrow, Senate Democrats are putting Republican support for some of those plans to the test by forcing a vote to nullify the emergency declaration that underpins the tariffs on Canada. Even as the resolution from Democratic Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia offered them a potential off-ramp to the tariffs levied on Canadian imports. Republican leaders were trying to keep senators in line by focusing on fentanyl that comes into the U.S. over its northern border. And then the resolution would end the emergency declaration that Trump signed in February to implement tariffs on Canada as punishment for not doing enough to halt the flow of illegal drugs into the U.S. If the Senate passed the resolution, it would still need to be taken up by the Republican-controlled House. So there's a lot of moving parts here. If it did pass in the Senate, it has to go to the House. The House is working on a slim majority. There's some big elections today down in Florida. This could get interesting. But it's also kind of funny where this is how they're trying to fight back. They're trying to fight back against Trump by getting rid of these emergency declarations that they don't agree with, and therefore getting rid of the tariffs. It's an interesting move. And then we have this from Trump. Senator Tim Kaine, who ran against me with crooked Hillary in 2016, is trying to halt our critical tariffs on deadly fentanyl coming in from Canada. We are making progress to end this terrible fentanyl crisis, but Republicans in the Senate must vote to keep the national emergency in place so we can finish the job and end the scourge. By their weakness, the Democrats have allowed fentanyl to get out of hand. The Republicans and I have reversed that course strongly and quickly. Major additional progress is being made. Don't let the Democrats have a victory. It would be devastating for the Republican Party and, far more importantly, for the United States. Make America great again. So we'll see what happens there. We had 2 executive actions on the presidential website. First one, he is putting an end to price gouging by middlemen in the entertainment industry. I thought it was kind of interesting because Kid Rock showed up to the White House. And it's pretty funny when Zelensky showed up in his sweatsuit, his classic sweatsuit, we kind of gave him, we did not speak kindly of him. Not that we would speak kindly of him anyway. But even Trump, when he showed up, he's like, oh, you dressed up for the occasion, whatever. And now Kid Rock shows up, and at least it's patriotic. It's pretty awesome. I would wear that. I want to get this outfit and wear it to a Gart. But yeah, so that's what he's dressed up as. And this is what it does. Today, President Donald Trump signed an executive order to protect fans from exploitative ticket scalping and bring common sense reforms to America's live entertainment ticketing industry. Let's see. America's live concert and entertainment industry has a total nationwide economic impact of $132.6 billion and supports 913,000 jobs, but it's been blighted by unscrupulous middlemen who impose egregious fees on fans with no benefits to artists. Back in 2000, when was it? It was 8 years ago. What was 8 years ago? Yeah, right here. 8 years ago, that would have been 2017. The Bots Act, it was meant to stop these scalpers from using bots to purchase tickets because they have these bots. They purchase as many as they can. They mark them up and sell them. And they're basically just trying to enforce the legislation that was already on the books and make sure that these bots can't do this stuff. So, I mean, it's not a bad thing for this to be implemented. I see no downside. We also had this. Trump establishes the United States Investment Accelerator. The order establishes an office within the Department of Commerce named the United States Investment Accelerator, meant to facilitate and accelerate investments above $1 billion into the United States. The Investment Accelerator will encourage companies to make large investments in the United States by reducing regulatory burdens, speeding up permitting, basically cutting red tape. That's the big one with this. They're trying to get the investment to keep coming. He's already got $3 trillion of investments into the United States since taking office. That's more than Joe Biden had the entirety of his presidency. Trump has gotten in the first 2.5 months. So another good move. They're just trying to remove the red tape and encourage more investments here. And this coming right before the tariffs are kicking off. I think the timing's notable and good executive action. I'm on board. And we have more states suing to stop Trump from implementing his legislation, his agenda. 23 states, D.C., sued Trump administration for billions in lost public health funding. Democratic attorney generals in 23 states and Washington, D.C. have filed a lawsuit against the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., alleging that the department's sudden rollback of $12 billion in public health funding was unlawful and harmful. In the lawsuit filed Tuesday, the attorney generals are seeking a temporary restraining order, or TRO, and injunctive relief to immediately halt the administration's funding cuts that they say will lead to key public health services being discontinued and thousands of healthcare workers losing their jobs. Trump can't even go to the bathroom without being sued by somebody. This is just asinine at this point. Is that a swear word, by the way? Try not to swear on the show. I'm wondering if asinine is a swear word. I don't think it is. Anyway, we'll keep going here. This is a weird story too. And I was going to read through the actual lawsuit, but the left is this was all over the mainstream news this morning. Trump administration concedes Maryland father from El Salvador was mistakenly deported and sent to a mega prison. The Trump administration conceded in a court filing Monday that it accidentally just deported a Maryland father to El Salvador because of an administrative error and argued it cannot return him because he's now in Salvadoran custody. But that's not really what actually, I mean, they're portraying this person as a Maryland father. Okay. Like, this is a very innocent way to describe somebody. It'd be like if they accidentally sent me to El Salvador. Oh, North Dakotan father accidentally sent to a Salvadoran prisoner, like just some random guy. But there is reason to believe, if you look at the actual lawsuit, which again, I didn't have a chance to fully read through, but let me see if I can find where it actually says this. Yeah, during a bond hearing, this is March 2019, the guy that they just deported. During a bond hearing, Immigration and Customs, or ICE, stated that a confidential informant had advised that Abrego Garcia was an active member of a criminal gang. And I'm pretty sure it was MS-13. Yeah, MS-13. So they had reason to believe this guy is part of a gang. I haven't seen anything to say he wasn't part of a gang. Yet they try to portray him as this like innocent random father, American father that got sent to El Salvador. That's not what happened. So this is a great example of mainstream media propaganda. And give this a week, maybe even less, and it will be fully debunked. But they'll never talk about it again. Because that's what they do. They run the propaganda, and then once it runs its course, they'll ignore it and pretend they never did it until they get sued or something. Anyway, let's play this clip. This is posted by the rapid response team. There's a full 2-minute clip of this, which even provides more context. But this is Rep. Jamie Raskin demanding the return of the illegal alien gang members and terrorists taken to El Salvador.
While appealing whichever ones they want to appeal, and to demand the return of people unlawfully taken to El Salvador on that so-called plane full of gangbangers. And I especially,
Crazy. I see in the chat here, Rocket Savvy 96 said, if anyone has not yet RSVP'd for the Nashville Badlands meetups Friday and Saturday, please RSVP today. Printed name tags tomorrow. Eat more plants to thrive at protonmail.com. That's a good reminder. I'll plug this again real quick. I'll be in Nashville. I'm actually flying out tomorrow. I don't know how I'm going to do tomorrow's show. I'm probably going to either record it tonight early or record it tomorrow morning before my flight leaves. But there should still be a show tomorrow. And I don't plan on skipping Thursday or Friday either. I don't know how the internet's going to be. I might just have to record early and upload it. But anyway, that's besides the point. I'll be down in Nashville. Friday, we're doing a meetup from 7 to 9 at the Fleet Street Pub. I'll be at that one. Saturday, from 2 to 4 at the Cellar Bar. I will not be at that one, but other Badlands hosts will, and we got a good crew already RSVP'd to attend that. So if you're in the area, I would love to meet you guys. So come hang out. And yes, I will be doing the DPH tomorrow. I guess it depends on my internet connection. So I'll at least try to make an appearance. If not, I might have like Ghost or somebody come on and help us out. But anyway, okay, let's go to this story. So Anna Paulina Luna, obviously my favorite congresswoman. Well, she, by the way, they're doing their JFK, or not JFK. Yeah, JFK assassination hearing today at 2 p.m. Eastern. And I even posted about it yesterday. It's fitting that it's on April Fool's Day because that task force is a joke. I am kind of curious to see. I don't know if I'll be able to watch the hearing, but I'm curious to see how that goes. I'll have to watch it on replay. But anyway, this is something separate. House GOP leaders move to kill proxy voting effort. Speaker Mike Johnson's clash with a fellow Republican over allowing proxy voting for new parents in the House is set to play out on the floor Tuesday. The House Rules Committee approved a measure that would effectively kill Florida Rep. Anna Paulina Luna's proxy voting effort, which was set to come to the floor for a vote this week under discharge petition. GOP leadership, at the urging of conservative hardliners, has lined up against the proxy voting proposal, which Johnson has called unconstitutional. And then that has kind of snowballed into some drama. I mean, I know that's surprising to hear that Anna Paulina Luna might be doing something for clicks and drama on social media, but that's where we're at. I've approached this entire process. This is from Rep. Luna on Twitter. I've approached this entire process with honesty and integrity, doing things the right way. Unfortunately, some members of the House Freedom Caucus have threatened to shut down the floor if the Speaker allows my proxy vote discharge petition to be considered. As a result, it is likely I will no longer be a member of the House Freedom Caucus. Will not compromise on something as important as ensuring new moms can vote while recovering. I believe this change will improve the institution in the long term. And then I have the actual letter she wrote yesterday. I might read through this quick. Dear colleagues, for several years I've stood shoulder to shoulder with you from the Speaker's fight where I was, let's skip all that. My goal has always been, let's get to the meat of this. I respect all you guys. The respect, however, was shattered last week. Acting within the House conference rules we all agreed to, I sought to bring a vote to the floor on a measure that would allow new mothers in Congress, fewer than 14 in our nation's history, and fathers, if they choose, to vote by proxy. This was a modest, family-centered proposal, yet a small group among us threatened the Speaker, vowing to halt floor proceedings indefinitely, regardless of the legislation at stake, including President Trump's agenda, unless he altered the rules to block my discharge petition. I don't even know the full details of what she's trying to do here. Like, just she's trying to vote to allow herself or other new mothers to have a proxy vote. And if she doesn't get it, she's quitting the House Freedom Caucus. Like, that is, come on. You're going to leave the House Freedom Caucus because you don't get your way. Like, this is a classic tantrum. So stupid. I don't agree with this. And regardless of even the issue, the proxy voting thing, I don't believe in proxy voting. Like, I didn't vote on your proxy. How do we know your proxy is voting the way you would vote? Like, think back to, what was her name? The Dianne Feinstein, whatever. When she was like in a wheelchair, could barely move, and she was about to vote or say something, and she had like a staffer come up and correct her. Proxy, you can't trust proxy voting. Remember the story of the Texas congressperson who had died or was in hospice, like came out, she was in hospice or in a coma or something, but there were multiple votes done on her behalf. She had no say over those votes. Or maybe she had else. I don't even remember the full story, but you guys understand what I'm saying. I don't believe in proxy voting. So, and then here's a comment from the chat. Snackums. I think APL is selfish. I was a working mom. She's not special. What's next? Special rules for men chest feeding? Yeah, I'm a single father too. When I have my kids, like, I don't get any special treatment. I don't get a vote on my own special treatment. You make it work. You do what you got to do. You sacrifice some things. It happens. Anyway, we got a bunch of other stories to get to. Let's keep trucking along here. Let's talk about the elections. The first major elections of President Trump's second term are set for Tuesday. That's today, with voters heading to the polls in Wisconsin and Florida. Wisconsin, a critical battleground, is hosting a high-stakes state Supreme Court race, while Florida, a Trump-leaning state, will hold special elections in the 1st and 6th congressional districts. The Wisconsin one, so if you guys are in Wisconsin or Florida, again, regardless of your feelings about our election system, I feel it too, fraudulent, don't trust them, fake, you can call them whatever you want. It's still something we're being told, we need to participate in by Trump, and he understands the fraudulent system. Look at the executive order he just put out. Look at everything he said over the past 8 years. He knows how fraudulent our system is. He's still telling us we need to operate within the battle space that has been presented to us. So let's do it. If you're in these states, go vote. They're probably going to steal it anyway, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't vote. Just do it. But it's up to you. Schimmel is the judge in Wisconsin. They're trying to get that majority. A lot of money and talk. I keep getting texted by freaking Scott Pressler, not like the spam win red stuff. I never should have spent money on that. I donated $10 to Trump in 2020, and I get nonstop spam. And from Scott Pressler, of all things, it's so stupid. Anyway, and then in Florida, we have special elections for former reps Matt Gaetz and Michael Waltz seats. So go vote, guys. It is funny, though. The Matt Gaetz one is very interesting to me, and I still would love to get him as a guest on the show because I want to talk to him about that. He had an opportunity after he dropped out of the AG race to go back to take this seat because he was the rightful winner. He could have been in this seat, but now he's not. And it's just weird. We've talked about the small margin in the House and the role that could play right when Trump started naming his team, the fantasy team. And here we are. Elon Musk just visited the CIA headquarters yesterday to discuss government efficiency, met with Ratcliffe and some others. During the discussion, Musk shared insights from Doge's work in other federal departments and explored how similar strategies might be applied at the CIA. They said that unlike other government departments, DOJ will not have access to the CIA databases or internal systems due to their top secret nature. The CIA formed an internal DOJ team following Trump's executive order. This group, composed of CIA career officials, has been working for several weeks already. Ratcliffe and his team discussed with Musk ways to adopt efficiency measures used in other agencies while maintaining national security. Meaning also covered the role of technology in enhancing efficiency. So Elon Musk is making his rounds. I'm sure we'll see a lawsuit just for him having met with the CIA. It's coming any day now. Khamenei, I always suck at pronouncing these foreign names. Khamenei, the Iran leader guy, warns of retaliation if U.S. acts on Trump's bombing threat. We've been talking about this kind of saga back and forth for a little bit as well. Just another update to it. Trump reaffirmed his threat on Sunday, stating that Iran could possibly be bombed if it refused his offer for talks, which was outlined in a letter sent to Iranian leadership in early March. The letter gave Tehran a 2-month deadline to respond. He addressed the threat by saying, this is Khamenei, the enmity from the U.S. and Israel has always been there. They threaten to attack us, which we don't think is very probable. But if they commit any mischief, they will surely receive a strong reciprocal blow. That the U.S. attempts to incite unrest within Iran, the Iranian people themselves will deal with them. And then there's another part here. Western powers have accused Iran of seeking to develop nuclear weapons by enriching uranium to levels beyond those needed for civilian energy. Iran has consistently maintained that its nuclear program is solely for peaceful civilian purposes. Yeah, it's just mostly peaceful nuclear enrichment programs. Khomeini? Clear cat? That's how you say it? Khomeini. You guys are not here to hear me pronounce things correctly. If that is why you are here, I deeply apologize. And I'm one of those guys too, when I get called out for saying something wrong, like me calling myself out is one thing. Then I'll try to figure out, but if you call me out for it, then I will never pronounce it right again. So just that's my warning to you. China halts $23 billion port sale to BlackRock. I'm pretty sure we covered this last week, but I just wanted to mention it again because there's some interesting quotes about China in here. So BlackRock was going to buy 2 big ports in the Panama Canal, and the sale was halted. And there's a lot of interesting stories about this sale because Trump was, behind getting BlackRock in the door, and they said they couldn't have made this deal without Trump. And then all of a sudden, China's State Administration for Market Regulation launched an unexpected investigation this last Friday, citing potential violations of Chinese anti-monopoly laws, effectively putting the deal on hold. Xi Jinping is reportedly upset over CK Hutchinson's plans to sell its Panama Canal port operations, particularly because the company did not seek Beijing's approval beforehand. The deal spearheaded by BlackRock CEO Larry Fink was set to be finalized by April 2nd. Now the deadline may be missed due to the regulatory probe. So China is probing some ports. Very interesting. Remember this guy, Luis Mangione, guy who shot the United Healthcare CEO? Well, Pam Bondi came in and has directed prosecutors to seek the death penalty. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi said Tuesday she has directed federal prosecutors to seek the death penalty against Luigi Mangione, the man accused of gunning down United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Mangione faces separate federal and state murder charges for the killing, which rattled the business community while also galvanizing health insurance critics. The federal charges include murder through use of a firearm, which carries the possibility of the death penalty. The state charges carry a maximum punishment of life in prison. See what happens. We shall see what happens. Let's keep going. Oh, this is not really news, but it's kind of just drama, and I'm kind of getting to the end of my stories here, I think. Oh no, I'll come back to it, I guess. Let's do this one. Hold for processing. Okay, so allegedly, haven't seen this confirmed, but Elon Musk says the U.S. government deleted a terabyte of financial data to cover their crimes, but they don't understand technology, so we recovered it. If he's being truthful and this is legitimate, this is a massive, massive story. So I'm curious to see where that goes. Here's Ilhan Omar talking about the dismantling of USAID causing a worldwide global crisis. Isn't that weird?
The effort to dismantle USAID are deeply personal to me. I know the work that they do to help refugees because they've helped me and my family when we were in a refugee camp. Their work represents the best of America abroad, and it is truly a beacon of hope for so many people around the world.
Representative Omar spoke about the effects of the Trump administration's attempt to dismantle the agency, mentioning refugees losing access to food, shelter, and vaccines. Omar went on to mention Minnesota-based organizations that get funding from USAID and how losing that funding could harm those benefiting from their work. At Friday's press conference, Representative Omar was joined by local organizations which are...
Okay, you get it. That's just insane, though, that our money not going to other countries is causing a worldwide global crisis. The crisis is all these corrupt agencies and all these the money laundering schemes are falling apart. It's ridiculous. But okay, I want to play this video. So you guys all remember, maybe you won't care about this, but the saga of Elon Musk allegedly impregnating Ashley St. Clair and everything that surrounded that. We talked about it a while ago. Well, there's more. There's a development here. Ashley St. Clair came out and decided she was going to sell her Tesla, and she's asked some questions, and this is what she said.
I'm selling it because I need to make up for the 60% cut that Elon made to our son's child support.
Why do you think that he did that?
That's a great question for him.
You feel like he was sort of like vindictive against you in some way?
Yeah, that's his modus operandi when women speak out.
So she said she's selling her Tesla because Elon cut her child support by 60%. Okay. And then asked another question. She said, this is what Elon does when women speak out. He like goes after them.
When was the last time that you spoke to him or tried to speak to him?
February 13th.
But he's just not responding to you at all. How would you characterize the way that he's going about
You can check the stocks. I am
okay.
I'm not the only one.
We won't get you on
that.
We're not going to get you.
So she's like, this is, I think this is going to turn into an anti-Elon Musk and like anti-Trump op here very quickly from Ashley St. Clair. The thing I want to show you is what Elon Musk said. So there's, again, more to this. How do I get out of this? There we go. So Elon Musk responded to this and said, I don't know if the child is mine or not, but I'm not against finding out. No court order is needed. So there was a lot of speculation of whether or not they used in vitro, like if Elon used in vitro. And the fact that he said this line right here, I think rules it out. Because if they did in vitro and he like signed up for that and donating sperm or whatever, I don't know the full details of how that works, but I'm pretty sure he would know if he signed up for that and if this was his, right? So that's number one. And then despite not knowing for sure, I have given Ashley $2.5 million and am sending her $500K a year. So Ashley St. Clair is getting $500,000 a year on top of a $2.5 million lump sum just for having a baby. And it's not even sure if it's his. And then this is how she's reacting. Like not getting enough. This is crazy. Crazy. This is what she said. Elon, we asked you to confirm paternity through a test before a child who you named was even born. You refused, and you weren't sending me money. You were sending support for your child that you thought was necessary until you withdrew most of it to maintain control and punish me for disobedience. But you're really only punishing your son. It's ironic that your last effort in court was to try to gag me while you use a social media channel you literally own to distribute derogatory messages about me and our child to the entire world. It's all about control with you, and everyone can see it. America needs to grow up, you petulant man-child. The fact that she's like acting like this over that much money is just absolutely insane, because there's no reason anybody needs that kind of money to raise a child. People raise children on much less. Like, I'm a guy who pays child support too. I went through a divorce, and it's set by the court. If they go through the courts with this, considering they were never married, any of that stuff, like there's a maximum level based on his income that it can't go above. I'm pretty sure it's the same way everywhere. I could be wrong about New York, but the child support is going to be significantly less than $500,000 a year. This is just such a weird saga. And I know it's like, I don't even really care. But the part about this that I do care about, if you remember that Ashley St. Clair, when she made this post, this is what I want you guys to do if you have time and if maybe you don't care, whatever. But go through to this post on her profile. It's like one of the top ones. Go through and read every one of these Con Inc. influencers who came through and congratulated Ashley St. Clair about this baby. Where are they at now that she's basically extorting him? Every one of these people are liars. They're hypocrites. They're frauds. It's a joke. Every one of them. Go check it out. Go read through that post and the replies, and you'll see every single one of these people that came into defense of them. They're silent about it now. That's the story to me. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. I have an interview here. I'm going on. I'm not even sure if it's live. I should probably check on that. I don't know if it's live, but I'm going on the Mel K show. I'll post about it if it is. So I got to hop over to that, but I'm going to play the outro video and then I will come back and read the rants real quick. So you guys have a great rest of your day. I will see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern right back here on the Daily Herald. Hit that thumbs up. And I'll send you over afterwards to watch the Anna Polina Luna fake stupid task force thing.
0. 1. Extra, read all about it. 2. 3. Let's get started.
That's what she said.
Oh, that's real good.
Why they stopping me?
All right, we just had one rant from 12 Indie Boy Ty. Meme war is a new battlefield for China. Badlands just needs to use some ghost memes. Heck yeah. I'm also going to real quick read a Rumble Studio ad. Because we're trying to participate in the Rumble Studio stuff to help them and us. It's a mutually beneficial thing. So real quick, I'm going to do this Rumble Studio ad, and then we'll get you guys out of here. And this is an ad for Rumble Premium. The sponsorship is from Rumble, one that is incredibly important to the survival of the company. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator. They didn't censor or have biases. They were fair and treated all creators equally. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions on COVID, but they did. Facebook admitted they fell to pressure from the Biden and Harris administration. Rumble did not. They held the line. They are attacked daily for giving us a voice to talk to you. They are attacked in corporate media. They are attacked by governments like France. They are attacked from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate America is fighting to remove speech. Rumble is fighting to keep it. Rumble won't survive this with brand advertisers. They don't get much of it. Watching our show on Rumble is the most they can ask from you. But if you really believe in this fight and you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. Rumble is offering $10 off with promo code STUDIO. When you purchase an annual subscription, go to rumble.com/premium and use promo code STUDIO. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now is the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we are just happy if you'll watch us right here on Rumble. Also, quick shout out to Fat Chance, who just left a rant that said, thanks, John. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. And all right, with that, I'm out of here. See you guys tomorrow.